Hi, I'm Philip Scorza, and this is another episode of Around Town. Today we're at the Placerita Canyon Nature Center, where we're going to see, well, let's see, first we're going to see the Walker Cabin, then we're going to go to the Oak of the Golden Dream, and if you don't know what that is, you're going to be excited by it. We're going to go inside here, meet a docent, and we're going to, well, she's going to show us some of the animals and some of the things that you can do here at the Placerita Canyon Nature Center. Anyway, why don't you come along with me and let's have a good time. I'm here today with Jess Nikolai. She's a docent here at Placerita Canyon Nature Center. Tell us a little bit about this place.
Sure, yeah, the park is actually run by Los Angeles County Parks and Recreation. We're located here in the San Gabriel Mountains, right in the Santa Clarita Valley. And it's a great park. We have 8 different hiking trails. We have tons of guests that come, especially on weekends. We offer a lot of programs, and it's just a great place that's, minutes away from a lot of major cities that people can come and enjoy and be outside.
What does a docent do? Tell us about that.
Yeah, docents pretty much are running the programs here. So we do animal presentations every Saturday. We also do a guided family nature hike. We also do some bird walks. We do some wildflower walks. And basically our job is just to be educating the public. We're here to answer questions and take people out into nature.
And how did you get to be a docent?
Yeah, I actually started in 2005. I started as a high school volunteer. I was a part of the ROP, which is the Regional Occupational Program. And this was a high school program. You had to come here and do some volunteer work to get some hours in. And I guess they liked me enough to hire me. So I started in 2006, and I've been here ever since.
Well, it speaks well for ROP, I think.
Yes.
I tell you what, let's start my favorite place, the Walker Cabin, which has got so much of our Santa Clarita history.
Indeed, indeed.
So let's head over.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So we are standing here in front of the Walker Cabin. This cabin was built around 1920 by Frank Walker, who with his wife Hortense raised their 12 children in this cabin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Like you said, built in the 1920s, it was hand-built by Frank Walker. Okay. And yeah, the 12 kids and his wife Hortense all lived in this one little cabin. There was actually another addition to the back that is no longer here, so they did have a little more room, but yeah, but this is a really interesting piece of history. You can see some of the rocks, especially the chimney on the other side. It was actually made out of fancy rock, which is a very unique type of rock found here in the canyon. It's got a nice, pretty green-white mix of schist, which is very unique to here. So he utilized that here. And while they were here, they kept livestock. They also had crops. They also did some gold panning, which they sold in town. And yeah, they did a lot of stuff. I mean, they hunted out here. They lived out here.
Tell us about the stuff that's inside it.
Certainly, yes. Yeah, the house is normally open on Saturdays in the morning, and inside there's quite a few artifacts. They weren't actually used by the Walkers. We don't actually have anything that they used except for their dining table, which is the actual dining table that they used. But inside you can find old bed warmers. They actually have an old popcorn maker. They have replications of their bed and just different cooking utensils. So you can kind of get a grasp on what life was like here in the canyon.
The sign inside said that it had been used in certain movies and
television
programs.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Like
yeah.
what?
Hop Along Cassidy was filmed here.
Okay.
Also the Cisco Kid and Robin Hood was also filmed here as well. And something interesting too, the movie industry, they actually put up this patio structure as well as the patio down here. This was never here for the Walkers, so they actually put that up here.
Good idea.
Yeah, and it actually was really good for them. They got revenue from that, and again, they sold gold, they have livestock, so they actually made a very good life for themselves out here.
When did the park take over this building and make the property?
Yeah, they sold the park in 1949 to the state parks, and in 1959, the park was then expanded to the present 350 acres that it is currently.
Okay, okay. Well, let's see, the next stop along our little tour is going to be the Oak of the Golden Dream.
That's right.
So what do you say we take a walk up the road here?
Certainly, let's go.
Okay. So according to the California Registered Historical Landmark number 168, this is the place where gold was first discovered in the state of California.
That is correct. Everybody always says it was Sutter's Mill, and there was some debate about it, but the reason, though, that Sutter's Mill gets all the credit is because when gold was first discovered here, California was still under Mexican rule. So that's why there's a little overlap, and they don't talk about this place. They always talk about Sutter's Mill.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
makes sense. So gold was first discovered here under this oak tree that we're standing by.
That's right. Yeah, in 1842. So the legend goes that Francisco Lopez, he was a herdsman who came here with a couple other people. The legend goes that, you know, they got all the way to the canyon. They were pretty tired, and so he decided to take a nap underneath this very oak tree. And this amazing dream he had while he was asleep, he dreamed that he was going to find gold and make this huge fortune. You know, and he wakes up and he tells all of his friends, and of course they just say, "Oh no, you're crazy. That's not going to happen." So, you know, they wake up from their nap and they're a little hungry and they decide it's time to cook some dinner. So they tell Francisco, "Go find us some wild onions." So they walk over to the creek, and there he found some wild onions and he was digging it up. And when he pulled it up, he noticed on the roots that there was actually some gold particles on the roots. So that was actually the first discovery of gold in California.
So let that be a lesson to you. Whenever somebody says, go get some wild onions.
Yeah, you never know.
Do it.
You never know.
Do it. All right, well, this is just one of the things we could see here at the Nature Center. One of the other things we can see here would be hiking trails,
That's right, yes.
Plenty of hiking trails.
Yeah, we have 8 different hiking trails for all levels of expertise.
So would you like to go take a walk?
Of course, let's go.
Let's go. What is this? I want one of these. This is fabulous.
You know, let me check my guide. Let's see what it says here.
This is great.
It says, this large piece of machinery on the south side of the trail is Gould's pressure pump. And it was manufactured in 1902. It was used to pump oil to the refinery from the wellhead or for water dispersal. Huh.
You mean in addition to gold, we have oil here?
Yeah, we do actually. If you were to head up the canyon trail, about 1.5 miles up the trail, we actually have a bubbling pool of natural white oil. Yeah, it's pretty neat stuff. It smells like kerosene, and
it's white.
Yeah, it's white. Yeah, it's really neat. It's all
Clear.
natural. It's actually filtered. A little bit actually trickles into the creek. But yeah, the New Century oil well was actually placed on top of it in the 1900s. And something really cool, you know, the walkers, as well as other Newhall residents, they would actually take this oil and they'd fill it into their Model T Fords without ever having to refine it first.
Wow.
And that's what they ran their cars off of. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well,
Yeah.
what do you say we keep moving?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Okay, so what is this?
This is a great demonstration of different animal tracks you might find in California. We also have some photos of some very common animals. We have a snake paper up here that kind of shows you the difference between a venomous and a non-venomous snake. So just things you can do in case you're bitten, what to do. So just some general information for people, some outline information. So.
Great.
Yeah. And these are the tracks that we want to see all the time, are mountain lions.
Mountain lions,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they're definitely here in the park, although it's really rare to see them. But we were so ecstatic. We actually set up some wildlife cameras a couple years back. We set them up about 2 miles down the road at Walker Ranch. And my coworker and I, we were scrolling through the photos on our computer, and our boss happened to be on the phone just across from us. And, you know, we're scrolling through the photos, and my coworker turns to me and she says, "Wouldn't it be great if we got a mountain lion photo?" And, you know, we're seeing deer on this camera, we're seeing skunks, raccoon, everything, and we're going, "Oh, it'd be so cool to see a lion." And sure enough, we're scrolling through it, and all of a sudden, here comes this huge female mountain lion right dead center in the camera, and we just started screaming our lungs off. And my poor boss on the phone, he gets a little startled, but it was just so great. That was the first mountain lion that we'd ever actually gotten a photo of in the park, so it was very cool that we got that. But yeah, these are just a lot of common animals you'll see. Black bear?
Well, the black bear sort of looks human.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, this is actually their back foot. Yeah, it's very human.
Oh, okay.
It's neat though. If you were to look at their feet, it's actually the reverse of ours. So while this looks like, you know, a right foot to a human, this is actually their left foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, black bears, you know, they're definitely here in the mountains. We haven't seen one here in the park for a very long time. I think the last time we saw one was right here in the picnic area.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, they're definitely around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very common though. We see the coyote, we see bobcat, gray fox, tons of squirrels, lots of birds. Here's a dark-eyed junco. Lots of deer, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of really neat animals can be found here in the park. Yeah.
Sort of the Grauman Chinese of Placerita Canyon.
Exactly.
I love it.
All right.
Well, let's move on.
All right, let's go.
Well, this is a beautiful area. This is where you guys picnic. I don't see any fire pits here, though.
Yeah, you know, we actually don't have any right here.
Are we allowed to barbecue here?
Yeah, you can if you have a permit, and it also depends on the time of year. You'd want to ask park staff. You just give them a call and see what the current conditions are like. You know, on hot, windy days, we wouldn't be able to have any fires. But yeah, people bring their own barbecues and have picnics, and yeah, it's great on weekends. Lots of families come here.
I was going to say, that's probably the busy time.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, this is a great example of an oak woodland too, and this is actually one of my favorite spots to look for birds. And we have tons here. We actually have this spotted towhees, black phoebes, western bluebirds, scrub jays, stellar jays. We see all sorts, and it's just great. It's a great place to look for them.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
So this is the beginning of the nature trail here.
Yeah, this is the Canyon Trail.
Okay.
This is about a 2-mile hike one way. It leads you to Walker Ranch. It's actually probably our most frequently used trails, especially by families. It's pretty easy going and it's shady in the summer. So it's a very nice trail, especially when the creek is flowing, which is why it's called the Canyon Trail. The creek flows through.
I heard there's a waterfall up there.
There is, yes, at the very end of Walker Ranch. It's more like a trickle during this time of year, during the summer, but yeah, during the winter and the spring is when you'll get more of the waterfall. If we have enough snow melt, that is, but
nice.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. This trail leads you all the way to Walker Ranch. You can camp there with designated groups and yeah, very nice.
Great.
Shall we?
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go. Looking forward to it.
So you can see on this side of the Canyon Trail, there's a lot of evident fire damage. This actually happened during the 2004 fire, and it burned a lot of the park around here. And the way it actually started, there was a red-tailed hawk who landed on a telephone pole just up the road a bit. He got electrocuted and he actually caught on fire and he fell to the ground. And that's how the fire started. Exactly,
wow.
Exactly. But I mean, you can see, even though we have these, very, very much blackened trees, there's still, life
everything's
has
come back. It's just fabulous.
Yeah,
how
and that's what's so amazing about California chaparral. A lot of plants actually really need fire in order to, reproduce.
And come back.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Now, how about this? What does this number mean?
Yes,
Tell us.
Is actually part of the Placerita Canyon Audio Discoveries, which is our audio tour that you can download from placerita.org.
Okay.
And also you can get it off of iTunes. And basically what you do, you download it onto your MP3 player or any other MP3 playing device. You walk up the trail. Every time you see one of these posts, the number is going to correspond with one of your tracks. And I'm actually going to be telling you about what you're looking at.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very nice program. It's paper-free, which was great.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time now that we go to the Nature Center, and I would love to see some animals.
We can do that. Let's go.
Okay, all right. One of the things that you might come across here at the Placerita Canyon Nature Center is a man sitting on a bench with a wild bird. Tell us about it.
Certainly. Well, this is Rick and Wheelie the Harris's hawk. Now, this isn't actually a bird that you can find here in Placerita Canyon. However, this is a bird that is no longer able to be in the wild. She actually was found in the wheel well of a jet engine, and hence why she's with us today. This is a bird you can find normally in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, but not here in the park. But she's still a great animal ambassador, and we have many of the animals here at the Nature Center are great animal ambassadors, and she's just getting a little sun today and coming out.
Well, since we're here at the park on this beautiful day, what do you say we go take a look at some other animals?
I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, we'll be back. Who's your friend?
This is Sylvester.
Sylvester.
And Sylvester is a gopher snake. He's very active at the moment. It's nice and warm out. These are actually the longest snakes that we have here in California. And they get their names because, well, there's a couple different theories. One is because they go down gopher holes frequently, and also because they might potentially eat a gopher. So, and they're a nice, pretty brown color, kind of like a gopher is. But these guys are really beneficial. A lot of people don't like snakes just because, they're kind of creepy. A lot of people think they're kind of slimy or slithery, but really they're actually very soft. It's almost like if you were to feel your thumbnail, that's how they feel. So they're not slimy in any way. But they're great to have around because these guys are going to be eating the mice and the rats, so they're nature's pest control, really. And a good way to tell if it's a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake in California, venomous meaning it has poison like a rattlesnake.
Right.
If you look at his head shape, it actually kind of looks like your thumb or maybe your index finger. And if you're looking at a rattlesnake, it's actually going to be more of a diamond shape.
Yes.
So that's one way you can tell. That works in California, not everywhere, but in California, you can actually tell just by looking at that head shape if you're looking at a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake. But obviously these guys then, they don't have venom, so what they do instead is they actually constrict their prey. So they grab onto them with all their teeth, and they start wrapping them up, and they give them a big old squeeze. They get all that oxygen out of that mouse or that rat, and that's how they catch their prey. And they do eat them whole, they don't actually chew. And what's really neat though, they can actually almost detach their whole jaw and their bottom jaw, and that's how they actually are able to swallow these things whole. Ta-da! What else can we see?
Sylvester seems to be tying you up in knots.
He is, yes. He's very active. It's a nice warm summer day, and he says, I want to go somewhere where it's shady, so he's trying to go in my shirt. But you can see he's flicking out his tongue right now.
Yeah, what's that for?
Yeah, that's actually how they smell. So they they do have nostrils like you and me, but they actually just use it for breathing. But the snakes, they use their tongues for smelling, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
And they don't actually have hearing either, but what they do instead is they can feel vibrations in the ground. So as you're walking around, they don't actually hear you, they feel you coming, which is
Makes
pretty
sense.
cool.
Yeah.
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 Ta-da! Would you like to see another animal?
What else have you got?
We've got lots more. Let me go ahead and put them back.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
This is a possum?
Actually, believe it or not, there is a difference between a possum and an opossum.
Okay.
So this is actually Virginia opossum. These are the kind of animals that you'll find in North America. And possums, they actually look a little more like lemurs, and you'll find them in South America, Australia. So actually not here at all. So they're two totally different animals. So this is a Virginia opossum.
Opossum.
Yeah, and a lot of people think they look like big rats, which I totally understand, especially if you're looking at this tail.
Yes.
But really, these guys are really unique to North America because these are the only marsupials that we have in the United States. So they're the only animal that actually has a pouch on their stomach for their
Really?
babies. Yeah, so they're really unique, and they're the only ones in North America.
It's a
She's
very
looking
nice
around.
looking face.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, these guys have a great sense of hearing. They have these really big sonar-like disc ears. Very cool. And you can see she has a really good sense of smell. She's definitely smelling around.
What does she eat?
She eats anything. These guys are omnivores. They will eat trash. They will eat dog and cat food if you leave it out.
Wow.
But the good thing that they do for people, they will actually eat your slugs and your snails, which they absolutely love. It's their favorite food. And they will also eat mice and rats, potentially. So they're actually very good to have around. And another cool thing, these guys actually cannot get rabies. And a lot of people think, you know, when they're opening their mouth and they're drooling and growling, like, oh no, he's got rabies. But they actually cannot get it. It has to do with their body temperature. But what that really is they're doing is they're trying to warn you off, because they actually have 50 teeth, which is the most teeth of any North American land mammal.
Wow.
And they're just trying to say, you know, hey, I got a lot of teeth. If you try to mess with me, I can bite you.
Yeah.
But they will, have you heard of playing dead before? You ever heard of playing
Yes,
possum?
of course.
Yes, so they will actually do that. But what they do, say for example, a coyote or something comes upon this girl and she's drooling, she's growling, she's showing her mouth, and it's just not fending off this coyote. It's not scaring him away. So what she does, she almost goes into a voluntary coma where her heart rate goes down, her blood pressure goes down, and she basically just becomes stiff as a board, and she will lay there for over 6 hours, 6 hours of playing dead. And they also will kind of make this nasty smell from their rear ends.
Okay.
And they do that because, you know, they look dead and they want to smell dead.
Gotcha.
Because that coyote is thinking, oh boy, that is expired. I don't want to eat that. It's like if you open up a carton of milk and you smell it and you go, I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to get sick from it. So that's actually why playing opossum works. So it's a very cool adaptation.
So that's where that comes from.
Yeah. And then, you know, these guys, we find them a lot in trees or actually in backyards a lot. They're very commonly found in urban environments. And these guys are pretty good climbers. They are a little bit clumsy. They do kind of fall sometimes. And you may have seen in cartoons where you'll see opossums hanging upside down by their tails. In actuality, though, they can't do that, at least when they're big like this. They weigh about 8 to 10 pounds when they're full grown. So yeah, they don't do that. They actually instead use it more as like a fifth arm. They can kind of wrap it around a branch and hang on a little bit better.
Okay.
But yeah, they don't hang upside down by their tails, at least not when they're adults. But, yeah. And they do actually have, I was going to say, if you can see, they have a back thumb. So we have our thumbs on our hands, right? We don't have any thumbs on our feet. But if she'll let me show you here, these guys.
I see it.
Can you see it a little bit?
Yes.
I'll try to stick it out here for you. They actually have a little thumb right there on their
look
foot.
at that.
Yeah, and that again just helps with climbing. You know, they're very good climbers for the most part. So yeah, they're really neat animals and they're good to have around. A lot of people don't think they're very, you know, cute or attractive, but they're my favorites. I think they're great.
Well, this one is.
Yeah,
this is
she
awfully
great?
cute.
Yeah,
yes.
this is Daisy.
Daisy.
And she's about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And actually, that's pushing it for opossums. They rarely live to be about 3 or 4.
Is that right?
Yeah, they don't have a very long lifespan.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so she's getting up there, but she's doing all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and put you back since you're nocturnal.
And you'll bring somebody else out
We'll
for
get
us.
on our next animal.
Okay. Now, owls are supposed to be nocturnal, so did you have to wake up Orion here to bring him outside?
Yeah, you know what? They actually really do get used to human activities when they're in captivity. We do bring them out, obviously, for animal shows during the day, and so they do kind of adjust to being in captivity, but he's certainly awake during the nighttime, and a lot of owls actually are. You just don't really see them. They're more commonly seen during the evening hours, but yeah, you can see them actually flying around during midday, but yeah, normally it's during the nighttime, but yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, they're definitely nighttime animals. You can see he has these huge eyes.
Gorgeous eyes.
They're beautiful, and they're so big. They can actually see very well at nighttime where it's almost pitch black. And something neat about them, they actually take up most of his skull. It's mostly his eyes. They have actually a very small skull. It just looks kind of big because of all the feathers. But what's neat though, we have eyeballs, you know, so that when we want to look at something, we can actually just move our eyes around. We don't have to move our head.
Right.
But these guys actually have what are called eye cones. And that just means that just like an ice cream cone, it's literally stuck there, fixed in his skull.
Oh.
So that's why he moves his head so much. He has to be able to see.
The pupil doesn't move.
Right, exactly. He has
I
to move his
see.
whole head in order to look. But they can do that because their necks are very flexible. They actually have 14 neck vertebrae or bones, and we only have 7. So
How far
definitely.
around can he swing his head?
They can usually go about 280, so not quite,
Not quite
360.
360.
Yeah,
Wow.
you see it in cartoons all the time, but
Yeah.
yeah, not quite all the way. That would probably not be so good for the owl.
Okay.
But yeah, but amazing, amazing. And another really neat adaptation they have when they're flying around at nighttime, they actually have what's called silent flight. And what happens when they flap their wings, it's completely silent. You can't hear it at all. If you were to hear a raven or maybe a red-tailed hawk fly overhead, you can hear that whoosh, whoosh from the wings. But these guys, not at all. And you can kind of see the very tips of his feathers are actually serrated.
Oh,
You
yes.
can kind of see that.
Yes.
And that's what allows the air to actually just pass through very easily. So completely, I mean, these guys are the stealth bombers of the natural world.
Wow.
And they have these amazing talons, which is kind of just a fancy word for these claws or toenails down here.
Yes, I see you got big glove on.
Yes,
there.
that's exactly why I'm wearing the big glove.
Right.
Yeah, so these guys, they're sit and wait predators. They're waiting around all night for
And
something
what are they
to fly
waiting
by.
for? I'm just curious.
Oh yes, they are definitely waiting for rats, mice.
Okay.
They will occasionally go after domestic cats. A lot of
Oh.
people blame coyotes, and actually,
Didn't know that.
it could be these guys too. They're very strong, and even striped skunks. They've been known to go after skunks, which
Oh.
is pretty weird. They're the main predator besides cars of striped skunks.
Okay.
And that's because most birds, and including these guys, actually don't have a sense of smell. So,
Oh.
you know, that skunk spray isn't really gonna, you know, they're not gonna smell it. It's not gonna bug them so much. So that's why they actually will frequently go after striped skunks. But yeah, I mean, their feet are exceptionally strong, very strong owls. And that's how they catch their prey. They swoop down, they grab them with those feet, and they fly all the way back up to their perch. And then they use their beak just like a fork and a knife, since they obviously can't pick up their food like you and I can. So they hold it down with their feet, and then they just lean over, and they kind of, you know, if it's a big animal, they'll peck it apart and get a couple of pieces off. But
Oh.
a lot of animals, though, if it's a mouse, they can actually swallow it whole, and it's pretty wild to see. They
I'll
just
bet.
whoop, it goes all the way down like a duck.
Do they nest also in the tops of the trees?
You know, they actually will take over old nests. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these guys like to take over red-tailed nests. So yeah, they don't actually build any nests themselves.
And
but-
how about the babies? Where do the...
Yeah, they stay in the nest. Yeah,
They
for,
stay in the nest
Yeah,
for a
for a
while?
couple of months, and then that's why we have Orion. He was a nestling, and he fell out of the tree, and unfortunately, his parents were not able to raise him. And
Okay.
for predators like this, it's very important that their parents are raising them because they need to know how to hunt. And
So how did he
obviously
happen to
doesn't
get to
know.
Placerita Nature
Yeah.
Center if he fell out of the nest
Yeah.
and nobody bothered to...
Yeah, somebody actually brought him in. He actually came from another animal facility, and he was transferred over here.
Okay.
But yeah, that facility acquired him from somebody who found him when he was young.
All right.
Yeah, and you can see they have amazing camouflage. If you were to, you know, at daytime like this,
Yeah.
if he was sitting on the back of an oak tree,
You wouldn't notice him.
He would look just like a bump on a log.
Right.
It's amazing, these guys.
Except for the eyes.
Except for the eyes, yeah,
Except
those
for the
big
eyes,
yellow
those big
eyes.
yellow eyes.
Exactly.
Okay. So when can we see these animals?
Yeah, we have an animal show every Saturday at 1 o'clock. We usually bring out 5 different animals or so, and it could vary between some birds, we have tarantulas, we have the opossum, so we bring out a variety of things, the snakes, everything.
And it's free.
It's all free, yeah,
And what
totally
are the
free.
hours of the Placerita Nature
Yeah,
Center?
yeah. The Nature Center is open every Tuesday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And the park itself is open from sunrise to sunset.
Very good. So you can come hiking here anytime you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, that's
That's
great.
right.
Well, thank you very much. This has been terrific.
Yeah,
and
thank
I've
you.
enjoyed meeting you.
Thank you, yes, it's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you again sometime.
Alrighty, thank you. Come back.
Okay.